All right, so we left off with the Philistines absolutely destroying, wrecking Israel. 30,000 slain in battle. If you haven't watched part 2 yet, you can do that by clicking here or here. I forgot which one. I always forget which one. But yeah, go ahead and watch that one before you watch this one. So the Philistines slay 30,000 and take the ark away. Now Phinehas, one of Eli's sons, has a wife that bears a child, and she calls his name what? Ichabod, which means the glory of God has departed. And in Psalms it says that God forsook the tabernacle of Moses in Shiloh and delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the enemy's hands. So look what happens. The Philistines take the ark and bring it into their capital city, Ashdod, and they bring it inside their temple and put it right in front of their god, Dagon, who is this fish man. He has the hands of a man and the body of a fish. And they set it right in front of him, and they come back the next day and they see that Dagon is lying face down worshiping the ark. So they put him up and set him up again, and they come back the next day. And this time he's not just facing down and worshiping the ark, his head is smashed, his hands are broken. Not only that, but the people of Ashdod are breaking out with tumors and plagues. So they gather together and they say, no, we can't have the ark of the God of Israel stay with us because his hand is strong against us and on our God Dagon. If your God is weak and being afflicted like that, I think it's time you choose a new God. So the people talk amongst themselves and they decide, hey, the city Gath is nearby. Let's send the Ark of the Covenant over to the people of Gath. Let's share our glory with our brothers and sisters in Gath. And so the people of Gath, they see the Ark coming. They see it's a beautiful structure. They know it's the Ark of the Covenant, and who wouldn't accept it? So they gladly accept it. Oh, thank you. And immediately they get struck with plagues and tumors, and they can't do it. They can't take it anymore. They send the ark to Ekron, and the same thing, they also get struck with plagues and tumors. So they gather the priests together, and the priests decide, hey, let's send the ark back to the people of Israel. It belongs to them. So what they do is they build this wooden cart, and they place the ark on top of it and have 2 cows just walk away with the ark. So the 2 cows walk to the town of Beth Shemesh, and the people of that town see the ark coming and they rejoice. They start singing and they're so happy and joyous. So what they do is they break down the wooden cart and they use it as firewood, and then they offer the 2 cows up as sacrifice. And then they do something really foolish. They put the ark on this big rock and they open the lid because they want to see how God is doing. And bam, just like that, 70 men dead instantly. Why? What was in the ark? What was the first thing they put inside the ark? It was the broken tablets of the law. It was the 10 Commandments. And so they removed the mercy seat, which had the blood on it. And before, God couldn't see the law because of the blood. Do you understand this symbolism? Man. And so when they removed the mercy seat, they removed mercy. And they looked straight into the law. And it's the law that kills. And so they faced God with their own righteousness, and God couldn't violate. So now the Ark of the Covenant gets taken to a town called Kiriath Jearim, and that's where it stays for 20 years. And now you have the Tabernacle of Moses that has every piece of ritualistic furniture except the Ark of the Covenant. In fact, the Ark never returns to the Tabernacle of Moses ever again. And they moved this Tabernacle of Moses to a mountain called Gibeon, and it still has no Ark. So now the Ark is in this man's house, this man named Abinadab. And then finally, there is a man after God's own heart, David. Now David is the only one that has the heart that seeks after the ark, and he desires to bring it to its rightful place in Jerusalem because that is God's glory. That's God's spirit dwelling, sitting on that mercy seat on the Ark of the Covenant, and he desires for God to have a place to dwell in his city, and that's the beginning of restoration. So David grabs the Ark and he builds a wooden cart. Now you know that's not good news. They put it on a wooden cart. Abinadab's two boys, Uzzah and Ahio, are driving the cart, and David is leading this procession, and they're all singing and they're dancing and celebrating. They're really joyous, and the ark comes to Jerusalem, and it comes to a threshing floor. You know what that is? It's where they separate the wheat and the chaff. Does that sound familiar to you? It's a place of testing. Every work of God has a threshing floor. So they're doing this good thing and they're worshiping God, and the cart hits the threshing floor and it begins to stumble, and Uzzah stretches out his hand and he steadies the ark, and then he dies. And David is so afraid of this that he actually leaves the ark behind. He's like, nah, this isn't coming with me to my house. This ain't going to my house. Forget it. And he's so afraid. And why did this happen? Look at what they carried the ark on. It was a wooden cart. Where do you think they got this idea from? It's the Philistines, the heathens. There was a specific way that God ordained for the ark to be carried. It was supposed to be carried on the shoulders of sanctified Levites, and it was supposed to be covered, not exposed to the eyes of sinful men. So some time passes and David tries again, and he chooses a mountain called Zion, and it's higher than any other part in Jerusalem. And he says this is the place that God will dwell, and he makes a building for God. And it was actually a simple tent, and he planned to put the ark in this tent. And now they're all full of passion, all of Israel, all the Levites are sanctified, and they're bringing the ark, they're singing and dancing, and David is so full of passion that he takes off his kingly robe, strips down to his linen ephod, which is the garment of a priest, and he dances before the Lord. Now there's someone that is looking through a window and seeing what's going on. They're watching. They're not down there participating like everyone else. And they're watching and they're analyzing and criticizing it. Do you know who this person was? It was David's own wife, Michal. She's watching and she's criticizing it. She watches her husband, David, freely give himself to the Lord, and she despises him and despises what's going on. And she's thinking, why is David doing this? Doesn't he care about what people think of us? Why is he doing this for God? And so David places the ark in the tent, and then he returns home to bless his family, and she confronts him. And she says shrewdly to David, how glorious was the king today, uncovering himself before the eyes of the fair maidens. And David says to her, it was before the Lord who chose me over your father to be ruler over Israel. And you know what? I will be even more undignified than this. And I don't care about you, but I will be humble in my own sight, in my own way. And as for the maidservants that you speak of, the fair maidens, by them I will be held in honor. And you know what happened to her after this? She was smitten with barrenness. She did not have a child after that. And I have an idea why. David would not be intimate with her anymore. He would not have sex with her anymore. She was still part of the family. He didn't divorce her, but he would not know her anymore. He would never be intimate with her ever again. She was cut off from intimacy because she analyzed and criticized the work of the Lord and the Lord's servant. Who is Michal? She's the daughter of King Saul. She's the daughter of a king. She's the bride of the king of Judah, David. She was the passion of David's heart. He refused to be crowned king until he had her, until she was his. She was the purchase of blood. Blood was shed to obtain her. King Saul said, 100 Philistine foreskins, and I'll give you my daughter. Look at the symbolism. Daughter of a king, bride of a king, passion of his heart. This is you and I, the believer. She represents the Christian. Paul says that I may know him. You know what that word know means? It's the highest form of union that two people can have together. He's talking about that he wants to go behind the bridal chamber and know his Lord. Just like Adam knew Eve and Eve knew Adam. She was cut off from that. That's it for part 2, guys. I really hope that you're learning a lot. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, like the video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. So yeah, thanks guys. Peace.